Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kubeir and I am an ICCRC licensed immigration consultant, now CICC. And this channel is all about Canadian immigration news, updates, things you should do, things you definitely should not. And today I'm so glad that I finally have something good to share with you, because the last few weeks have just been about, speculation about things not happening and things not going our way. So 2022 was not looking like a very good year already, but finally there is something good to talk about. This news that I bring to you is about the travel restrictions. Effective today, effective 28th of January, you will no longer need to only go to the Genestrings laboratory in Delhi for your COVID test, or you also do not need to go for a COVID test at a third country point, which was a precondition if you were traveling from a different country. So what I'm trying to say is that until today, if you were coming directly to Canada, let's say you were coming from Delhi, okay, because that was the only point available to travel to Canada directly, then you had to take your negative COVID test, or you had to have a negative COVID test from the Genestrings or Genestrings laboratory, which was in Delhi airport. So this was the only acceptable test. Well, that restriction is gone. It's no longer there. Okay. And the another requirement was that if you are not flying direct from Delhi to Canada, if you are flying in from a third country, third point, transit point, then you had to take a negative, or rather you had to produce a negative COVID test from that specific transit point before you travel to Canada. That basically is not applicable anymore. You can now travel from any point in India, transit at any third country, and you do not need a negative COVID test. Obviously, if you're going to halt in a third country, if you're going to halt in a third point, then you will need a negative COVID test. But if you're just transiting from a third country, then you do not need a COVID test in that country. So this was the good news. This was something which was very exciting, but obviously let's check the official page as well. It says effective 28th of January, the modified pre-departure test requirements for travelers coming to Canada on direct or indirect flights from India or Morocco. Travelers from these countries will no longer be required to obtain a valid negative pre-departure COVID-19 test from a third country. All travelers entering Canada are now subject to the same pre-entry test requirements regardless of their departure country. Well, same information is also available on Transport Canada Twitter account, and here it says effective 28th of Jan, we are removing the modified pre-departure COVID test requirements for travelers on direct flights to Canada and the requirement for third country testing for travelers on indirect routes to Canada. So the requirement that was from the Genestrings for direct flights, that has been removed, and the requirement of a negative COVID test from third countries has also been removed. So the only conditions now applicable are that all travelers to Canada, unless they are exempted, first of all, they need to be fully vaccinated, and second, they will need to have a valid negative pre-departure COVID-19 molecular test taken no earlier than 72 hours before your scheduled flight. So this is the only condition now, which is pretty cool, pretty incredible. I mean, as I said, there wasn't much good news coming through. So this is definitely a relief, because what has been happening is that because of all these restrictions, the flight options were quite limited. People were restricted to take those very few flight options. This definitely opens up very many flight options that you might be looking at. You practically can now travel from any other transit points wherever the cheaper options are available. Well, that's all from me for today. This was a quick video to give you this update because I was very excited about this video. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning. We will have our weekly roundup where we will discuss more in details about the Canadian immigration updates that have happened this week. We have plenty to talk about. So tune in live for that stream, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I shall see you then. Until then, take care, stay safe, good night.